What's going on, Faded Culture? I'm Adrian and Barron, and today we got a mid-fade tutorial on my boy Ray. Wait, you're not Ray Anthony, bro. What's going on, Faded Culture? I'm Adrian Barron, and today we're gonna be doing a mid-ball fade with a little scissor trim on top on my boy Ray Anthony here. As always, guys, I hope y'all enjoy this tutorial, and let's jump right into it. Starting off using the wide side of the comb to move the hair into its neutral position, and as always guys, all the steps and tools that we'll be using in this video will be in the description down below, so feel free to check that out. We're going to begin with our debulking process using the number 2 with the lever completely open. And again, this is just to debulk. As you can see right here, I'm using my opposite hand to help push down that ear. You could always put a piece of tape or a piece of gum just to hold down that ear, just to get it out the way, to make sure that you don't hit it with the clipper. We're going to continue our debulking process with clipper over comb. If you're fairly new to clipper over comb, I always suggest that you put a number 1 guard or so, just to use as a safety net so we don't cut off more than we need to. Before I forget to mention, you could use fadedculture 10 at WAHL.com to get 10% off on all your tools. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the guard and close the lever completely. And yes, my clippers and trimmers are zero gapped, which I highly suggest that you try as well. I'll leave a video down below in the description on how we zero gap our clippers. So continuing the process, we're going to take it up about a finger's width, and we're going to go ahead and open up that lever completely. Always making sure that our lines run parallel to one another, and just work your way throughout. I did slightly drop the fade towards the back. Continuing the process, now we got the number 1 guard. You're going to notice all that's going to change are the guards. The lever is going to stay in its open position as we set up our guidelines. And now we got the number 1.5 guard. And for those wondering what to do if you don't have a 1.5 guard or a half guard, I highly suggest you buy it. If you can't afford it, just go ahead and sneak a relative or family member's credit card. For what they're worth, guys, they're gonna make your barber career a whole lot easier, so highly suggest you get them. Now we're gonna go ahead and switch our small brush over for a comb now that we're getting to our number 2 guard. And the reason is, every time I flick out, I like to comb the hair into its neutral position back again and then go over it a few times. And the tip that I do have, guys, is do not be scared to position your client's head in any way that you need to. I see barbers sometimes overextending their shoulder, and last thing you want is getting arthritis in your shoulders or wrists just because you're overextending when it can easily be fixed. We're in this for the long run, guys. Now we got the number 3 guard. Again, just continuing the process. I believe this is the last guard that I will be using. So now, to finish debulking and connecting the sides to the top, I'm gonna go ahead and use clipper over comb again, and just this time I'm refining it, taking my time, just making sure that the sides connect smoothly and evenly with the top. Alright guys, let me interrupt this tutorial real quick to mention that I will be giving away the white prison font tee. All you gotta do is follow the 3 Instagrams linked below, which is mine, my brother's, and the Faded Culture one. Then come back to this video and comment prison t-shirt. I'm gonna go ahead and select a random comment and announce the winner next week. So good luck, and let's jump right into this tutorial. By now you should have 2 guidelines left. The first one that we created with the lever closed, and the second that we created with the lever open. We're gonna go ahead and attack that top one using our half guard, and now we're gonna just close the lever slightly, putting it into a 3/4 position. And if you've tried this method and it doesn't work, it's probably because your clippers are not zero gap properly. But as you see right now, I am using mainly just the corners of the clipper now that we're working our way back down. But even if you did zero gap your clippers properly and you still feel that it doesn't take it out, don't be afraid to just adjust the lever slightly, either up or down, whatever you need to, guys. These are, just take them as general rules of thumb. As you can see, it did create a faint line right above it. So now we're gonna slap on that 1 guard. Do not touch the lever, keep it in that 3/4 position, and we're gonna continue the fading process. Again, using mainly just the corners of the clipper. And a good tip that I do have, guys, if you happen to mess up this part of the fade or just any step of the fade in general, just make sure to not show your client the mirror. Just go ahead and high five him and wish him a good day. Now that we're done with that, we're left with our initial line. This is going to be a 3-step process, starting with the lever close, then halfway, and then fully open. And I'm going to work on just small sections at a time, focusing behind the ear first, then we're going to move forward in front of the ear. Just because this last line is very tedious, very easily you can get frustrated and mess up the whole fade with this step. So take your time with this and trust that 3-step process. Again, I'm using mainly just the corners of the clipper though. Finally, we got that lever completely open. And we're pretty much done. Now we're gonna focus on that front section. And again, good luck to all the people that will be commenting down below prison tee. I did reach out to last week's winners via Instagram. If you follow us on IG, we did mention that for hitting the 800,000 subscribers, guys, we want to thank y'all. So we're doing a giveaway pretty much on every single YouTube video that we drop for the rest of the year. Some might be small and some might be big. So stay tuned and make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't already. As you can see here, I'm taking that 3-step process just on one back side of the head. When you're done using that 3-step process all around, go ahead and use your trimmer in a forward position to get that much closer to the scalp. Turn that around because it does create a faint line, and remove that. And what we're gonna be left with is when we remove that bottom hair, we're gonna be left with a faint line, which is gonna be used as a guideline for our electric shaver. And you're welcome for this one, guys. I wish I had this tip when I first started learning. I used to struggle so much removing the electric shaver guideline. And one thing with the electric shaver, make sure that you are always cutting against the grain. As you can see, I'm moving in multiple directions at the bottom. And once you approach the faint line at the top though, turn that shaver around and use it as if it was a pair of clippers, using mainly the corners of it. And there you go, we're pretty much done with the fade. Now I'm moving on to the beard. Here I'm just trimming it with I think a number 6. And as for the beard, I use a reverse system to fade that in. So I started with the number 1 guard, lever open, and then I close it. And then that same 3-step process, but now just backwards, starting with the lever open, halfway, and then finally close. And as for zero gapping your trimmers, be sure to check out that video that I linked down below. You always want to test your trimmers inside your forearm when you zero gap them, just because you want to make sure that they're not biting or scratching, especially some clients have very sensitive necks. As you can see, I'm starting the guide about 1 finger's width right above the Adam's apple. Now using my electric shaver to finish cleaning that up. And this is where I see a lot of people miss or just rush, is freehanding all the frizz from the beard. You always want to give it as much shape as possible, guys. And a tip that I do have for this is before you give it shape, go ahead and add a little bit of hairspray if there is a lot of stranglers and frizz. Alright guys, we're pretty much done with the fade as a whole. We already kind of pre-lined up and shaped up the beard. Now as for the top, we're gonna come in and start soaking it so we can get ready to trim it. I am using, of course, our very own Faded Culture shears, which you can find the Faded Culture shear set at fadedculture.com. And this is shear work made very simple. We're gonna go ahead and start with our profile section, making it about 2 fingers width or so. And this profile section is going to be used for our guide to create whatever shape and length that we want for the top. So here I'm starting with the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and move my way forward, always grabbing a small portion of what I previously cut with the new section to use as a guide as we move forward. So now that we put in our guide, we're gonna go ahead and grab horizontal sections starting from the back, and I am grabbing a small piece of that profile section now, and that's basically my guide as I move forward in these horizontal sections. And that should be as simple as it gets, guys. Now we're gonna go ahead and move forward with the right side of the head, doing the same exact thing, grabbing those horizontal sections with a piece of that profile section. And if you're struggling with sectioning, I always suggest that you add more water. I've seen even some people add a little bit of leave-in conditioner just to help make those sectionings a lot stronger and smoother. And here I'm just grabbing a little bit of that edge to help with the shape. To soften it up, I don't want a hard square top, so I'm rounding it off slightly here. And finally, just point cutting slightly to add a little bit of texture so it's not so bland. And boom, we're pretty much done with the top. Finishing them off by blow drying it all. And as for the edge up, always starting in the middle and then work your way to one side, and then recalibrate from the middle and work your way to the opposite side. Always taking a few steps back or even looking off the mirror just to make sure that you are going as straight as possible. And of course, I'm using my Faded Culture razors along with my favorite Turkish style razor blade, which you can find also at fadedculture.com. This is the way I insert the blades. I always insert it fully, and then the very tip of it, I just snap it off. And there it is, our Faded Culture matte black Turkish style razor. Super lightweight. Adding a little bit of our shave gel and begin your razor work. Always using your opposite hand to help stretch out the skin, always starting by shaving with the grain and follow that up by shaving against the grain. And as for the beard, you always want to brush it off after you line it up the first time. If it's super sharp, a lot of the times it's just the hair itself that you're leaving to help line up the beard, so make sure that you are brushing it or combing it out and then relining it up a second or even third time. Now adding a little bit of our matte clay. Make sure that you're emulsifying the clay, guys. You don't want clumps of product in the hair. Running it all throughout the top in every single direction to make sure that we work from the very bottom. Finishing it off with a little bit of hair enhancements. All right, guys, so there y'all have it. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. We did a mid fade with a shear trim on top and added a little bit of texture. As always, guys, let us know down in the comments below what you would like to see on this channel in the future. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. My name is Adrian Barron, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.